Sorry guys, still no theme tune. I know Dylan, you're going to be pretty upset by that, but hey, I'm sure we'll be alright. We're going to do opposite hand drawing today, which on the surface sounds a bit sort of silly. Like, why on earth would you do an opposite hand drawing? Like, you've got a hand that's good at drawing. Why not make the hand better? But the good thing about opposite hand drawings is that your opposite hand has sort of restrictions. You know, you're less dexterous, you're less skillful with your opposite hand, so you get some more interesting marks. Sort of just to prove that, if I was to do a circle with my good hand, that's not a great circle, but it's close enough. If I were to do that with my opposite hand, you know, it's much more wobbly. Okay, so we've got different marks straight away. If I was to do a straight line, if I was to try and add tone, I can do that quite easily with one hand, but I find that much harder with the other one. But it's got interesting qualities. So the opposite hand drawing reveals interesting qualities of line and of tone, of texture, pattern, that maybe your good hand sort of doesn't. So here's my photograph of the Berlin Cathedral. Give that a go, and I'm just gonna use small marks because my left hand isn't really capable of doing very big marks, very large sort of straight lines. It can't do it, so I'm not going to force it to do it. I've got these columns. I'm not sure if this was such a good idea for a demonstration because it's going to be for ages, I think. My lines are going all over the place. Look at this one. It's a building. That should be straight, but it's an opposite hand drawing. It doesn't matter. I'm not worried about how realistic this looks. A bit like a one-line drawing. I'm interested in the interesting sort of qualities that come out of my drawing. Maybe sort of starting to look like a doorway. I think I want a bit of tone in there. It's kind of cool, like that. Got some pillars. Kind of all over the place at the moment. It's funny, but makes you feel like you guys are kids, but makes me feel like a kid. Makes me feel like I've just completely forgotten how to draw. And they're supposed to be fun. They're not supposed to stress you out. If it's stressing you out, just learn to let go. It's not about how good it looks. If it was about that, we would be doing it with our good hand. This is about an experiment. This is about finding out what new marks we might make, which we then might even employ in an actual good drawing, a good in inverted commas drawing. You know, something we do with our right hand. You might say, "Oh, I made this mark when I was doing a left-hand drawing, and it was actually really effective to represent stone, or it was really effective to represent gravel or brick or fur or whatever." And for that reason, instead of just doing the marks you might normally make, you might even deliberately put your pencil in your opposite hand for a good normal drawing, just to get an interesting mark. So it's about revealing stuff that you maybe don't know yet. There's loads of trees and stuff at the front here. Big old columns coming down from there. This bit's looking quite nice. I quite like this area so far. Starting to get a good impression of the building. Really tempting just to swap hands and get this done, but like I said, really try to resist that temptation. Just stick with it. Trust me on that. It's worthwhile. It's really definitely worthwhile. We've got this one repeated. So that's these. Big pillar there in the foreground. Starting to notice some of the brickwork up on these sort of closer sections as well. And this side is much bigger because it's closer to the camera, so we can start to get some more details in there. What have we got? It's a fantastic building, this, if you ever get the chance to see it. You get to go right to the top and look out. There's a couple of little circles in there to let some light into the building. It's good to understand what the things are in the buildings that you're drawing. It kind of makes more sense, you know. These are obviously for decoration, but they're windows, so you know, let's try and make them look like windows. Give them maybe a bit of a frame, a little bit more detail to look at. Some windows now, so try to put some detail in. There's one over the top there. Some pillars. We've got these big pillars coming down. Right, well, I'm going to leave it there. I think that's not bad for my opposite hand drawing. It's got the qualities that this has got. The shapes there, sort of compositions there. But what I've managed to do is get some interesting tone, sort of very sketchy sort of looking tone. I've got lines that are sort of carefree. They're not trying to do anything very obvious. I'm a big fan of those. Other good things about the drawing, character of it, I guess. You know, I've discovered that actually this building is old, and I've maybe heightened that old appearance by the sort of sketchiness and the scratching of my lines. Maybe that's something that I want to push. So if I was to do this with my right hand, I'd deliberately keep my lines sort of quite sketchy, jerk the pencil around, keep it sort of with that scratchy quality. Okay, so that's an opposite hand drawing. Don't worry about your lines. They're going to be scratchy. Don't try to draw like you would with your good hand. Keep your lines small and focus on what your hand's doing.